Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Combo Podcast. So, I've been wanting to do something like this for quite a while, where I get to talk to developers about making games and designing games and everything that is involved in that very, very difficult process. And finally, I have been able to somehow get the game developers from SMAC Games who just released Tokyo 42, a very unique game, very beautiful, and it has quite some catchy music. So I'm very excited to have the two brothers on, and we will have a lovely conversation about games. Hey, welcome to the interview section, and I've got the beautiful people, Sean Wright and Maciek Strychalski here to talk about Tokyo 42.
That was amazing pronunciation of my name, by the way. How the hell?
Someone's been researching.
Where did you get that from? Not even I know how to pronounce my name.
And you called us beautiful, which is really, really nice.
That helps.
Flushing a little bit.
That means I get a free copy, right?
Oh, yeah.
So transparent.
Yeah, I was wondering how to pronounce it, so I've been practicing. But because you don't want to say it wrong on the podcast, and then people hear it.
Yeah.
That happens to me quite a lot.
I've had so many different versions of my name that I'm kind of over it at this stage.
Yeah, but I'm an international man, clearly.
Yes, of course.
So, you two are brothers from Cape Town, South Africa, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And you are now based in London, like I am.
Yes. Well, Sean was actually born in South London. He's born in the South.
In South London, eh?
Yeah.
Wee.
Yeah.
So we can talk in the London dialect.
No, I mean, I was too little to absorb any of the real lingo. You know what I mean?
No offense to Londoners, but that's a good thing, I think.
Okay, all right. I withhold any opinion on the matter.
Yeah, it was quite weird. When moving to Germany, I was at schools, and it took me quite a while to get used to English itself, and then the London speak, which spread to the world, I think.
Yeah.
So you're the minds behind Tokyo 42. Tokyo 42 is available on Steam and other irrelevant platforms like.
Spoken like a true Master Race person.
Yep, I'm here with my battleship of a PC.
Okay.
That's all I care about.
Nice. Do you have those cool flashing lights on the side and stuff? You know, like perspex boxes and.
I'm not gonna lie, I hate those
cools.
flashing lights.
Yeah, me too.
And also don't have a window in the PC because I don't. It means cable management, and that's.
So it's all just a jumbled mess in there, is what you're saying.
No, I've got excellent airflow. What are you saying?
Sorry, nothing. Yeah.
No, but my mouse has RGB lights, so it's something.
That is pretty cool. Is it programmable? Just out of interest, one of those you can change.
You can change it. Yeah. It's either a solid color, it breathes, or it's just.
Okay.
It stays one color, or it breathes and comes different colors or something. But
Cool.
yeah, it's quite. I may or may not have stared at it for hours, but just changing lights. But yeah, it's
Sure.
pretty cool. It's a Logitech something. Oh god, I don't remember.
Yeah.
All right, so
Sponsorship opportunity lost.
I still want your money, Logitech. Call me. So, do you have anything else to say about yourself? So, what led you guys to London and to make games?
Well, I've been in London for a while, since about 2007, and working in the media industry in various kind of capacities, working in advertising and digital art and web design and UX and all sorts of stuff. And Sean was moving over here via a trip to Europe, and we decided to start messing around in Unity, and we made a really cool demo, which we wanted to show to other people. And it turns out we also got a publishing deal out of it. So
Really?
yeah. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to us that it was as fun as it was, our demo. And, we've been working on it ever since.
Yes, the demo became a game.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Just that you didn't intend to make a game.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you make a game, you're making a game.
Yeah, but I mean,
Right,
I
so
didn't.
fun.
It's good that something commercial came out of it. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, we were really just trying to test the waters when we took our prototype out into the wild, and we didn't really know anything about the industry, so we sort of tentatively made an arrangement to go to this event that hooked us up with publishers in like a sort of speed dating format. And from that event, we met Mode 7 Games, and they were pretty interested in working with us. And we were, pretty happy to comply as well and take their money. So,
and Mode 7 games are also based in London, is that right?
Oxford.
Oxford,
okay. So the UK. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if you know their work. They made a game called Frozen Synapse.
I do.
Most famously, yeah. So, yeah, as Sean said, it was like our first industry event actually that we went to. That we basically hooked up a deal. There was a bit of chats afterwards, but we met them there. And they're kind of like a similar sized operation to us. So SMAC Games is just the two of us. Tokyo 42 we made with another guy, Vincent SB, who did the music, and a couple other sort of support guys like Alex Darby. But yeah, Mode 7 is also a very small operation. It's just a couple of dudes, led up by Ian Hardingham and Paul Kilduff Taylor. So, when we were looking at, working with someone, they seemed really attractive because they would understand, the sort of shit we'd be going through in developing this game. Excuse my language. Yeah. And they were, they would kind of know the kind of trials and tribulations that we'd go to. So, yeah, it was a good fit.
Yeah, and it was their first publishing gig as well. So we felt like they would give us a lot of attention from that standpoint. We wouldn't just become one in another, like many of their stable, if you know what I mean.
Game number 364 currently running at stage 2 of development or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
There are a lot of horror stories about management ruining games, right?
Yeah.
Just recently, Square Enix completely messed up Hitman.
Yeah, IO Interactive, yeah.
Yeah, the poor guys, the very good studio, have been around for ages, but because of Square Enix's, greed, they're letting people go, and it's a shame because their Hitman was a good game. The last,
the IP is still out there, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it's a question about who picks it up, and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to see what IO can do now that they're away from Squeenix.
I don't think they would struggle to get more funding potentially. I don't know. Maybe it might be naive of me to think that, but
Well, my worry is that they lost some momentum. They had to let people go, and that's always difficult to recover from. Right?
True.
But yeah, so the Mode 7 Games, small publisher who understands you two, and you understand them. So there was a good relationship, and you think that's been beneficial here, right?
Yeah, I mean, from a business perspective, it seemed like a good relationship. And then once we started working together, it was quickly evident that the relationship was just naturally good as well. They're great people and they're fun, and we always got along with them. We were like able to make jokes with them and take the piss, and that have that reciprocated. So the bands have always been strong, and it just felt like a fairly harmonious working arrangement, SMAC and Mode 7.
Yeah. The other thing is that when we had our demo, we got our demo together. We kind of had no idea how the industry operated, and we toyed with ideas of looking at Kickstarter or just releasing a game for free and seeing where it would go. Because we had a multiplayer demo to begin with, we didn't have a single player game. And when we thought about it, we kind of thought that going with a publisher to begin with would be a good kind of head start and just kind of, for a first game, learning about the industry and getting some contacts and seeing some of the sort of the inner workings without having to try find out, get all those contacts ourselves and find out, take wild guesses as to what to do next, So they kind of guided us through a lot of unknown territory for us. And we've learned a lot. But that having been said, they are kind of they've been kind of primarily doing PR stuff for us, and obviously sort of design support when we've asked for it. And in that respect, they're brilliant. Paul Kilduff Taylor is just super active on Twitter and been and hooking up meetings and interviews and all that kind of stuff. And he's exhausted himself kind of flying around the world trying to punt the game. So they're very cool when it comes to PR stuff as well, even though it's just a couple of them. So
yeah, that was great that it's worked out so well for you. So I'm not sure how this question got in here. Maybe it was Brian, but what's your favorite cake and why does it taste like lies?
What is our favorite what?
Cake, and why does it taste like lies? The cake is a lie.
The cake is
favorite cake. Cheesecake.
Cheesecake is pretty good. I'm down with cheesecake. And it tastes like a lie because cheese.
Because it's actually eggs, not cheese. Wait, it's also cheese, isn't it? It's mascarpone. What cheese do you use to lure a bear, Maciek?
Come on, bear.
What cheese do you use to hide a small horse?
Mascarpone.
Hey.
I never thought we'd be going down the route of puns.
Hey man, with that question though, come on. What do you expect?
Yeah. It wasn't a good question. Oh, it was.
I thought it was a great question. Leading.
Right. It sets the tone for the professional combo podcast,
I never got to the cake in Portal. I wasn't good enough.
Oh, was there like a secret somewhere in Portal?
Yeah, there was like a cake somewhere, but it was like super behind the scenes.
Did you have to like glitch your way through walls and stuff to get to it?
Yeah, I think so. I never like figured it out or looked it up, but
okay.
I remember it, but I don't remember glitching it. I thought it was just a panel that's a bit loose, and you can walk through it. So
okay, well, there we go.
See, for me, the cake was a lie. For you, the cake was not a lie.
So because it was a lie and not a lie at the same time,
Schrodinger's cake.
Yeah. Oh my god, we just solved physics.
Easy. Let's go home. Wait, I am home.
All right. You hear that, Nobel committee? I mean, we're right here.
Science is over. Trump was
all these
right.
years of me doing biochemistry, all a waste. I was born to do physics. All right, so Tokyo 42 has gotten on our radar late last year, and it's just the first look was wow. What is this game? It's vibrant, the vibrant colors, the music, and everything. It felt special just looking at it, and so I'm a huge fan of architecture and design in games, and that's why it stood out. And I wanted to speak to you guys. I've famously done a 1-hour episode with an architecture PhD graduate who just talks about Deus Ex Human Revolution, and I'm just like, wow. So yeah, as you get older,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of dev stuff, the videos you've been releasing, and I really look forward to games, and I also, I'm more of a patient gamer, so I wait for games and until they're patched and everything. But this one stood out, and Brian's played it, and he loves it, and I have yet to play it, but I do want to. So
you're coming into this interview well informed, then?
Yeah, I mean, if YouTube and Twitch counts, but yeah, it's because my PC is a few hundred kilometers away, and I just I miss it. So, just to kick off, what led you to, develop the fully fleshed game? I mean, you guys mentioned you just met and you went to an event, the speed dating with people. But what actually pushed you to leave a secure job or whatever and to actually do this for a year, 2 year, 3 years, or how long it took?
Well, I've grown up loving games my entire life, right? And as I was in app development before this, software, and I studied engineering, like sort of robotic engineering. So I've always been doing programming. It's kind of been in my skill set. And when the opportunity came up to turn that sort of skill set towards gaming, which is something I love, it seemed like silly not to pursue it. To be honest, there was money, there was security, and there was the potential of being behind making a game. So it was a no-brainer from my perspective.
Yeah.
And what inspired you? Just the entire concept of this odd-looking city. Not odd, but special-looking city and music.
We're brothers, and we kind of always played games together when we were younger, and there were a bunch of games that we played like ages ago on our Amiga because that was our first machine in the house. And funnily enough, a lot of them were made by sort of British development houses. So it was houses like Sensible Software and Psygnosis and Team 17. So it was games like Lemmings and Worms and Sensible Soccer, Cannon Fodder. So there was this kind of leaning towards wanting to make something kind of classic like that, but new school. And it's not just those games. There's a bunch of other games that we really loved. And because this is our first thing, we wanted to kind of, in a way, kind of pay tribute, without claiming that we've made anything as good as that, but if we're going to learn, we're going to learn through these games that we loved. So it was kind of like this little bit of a throwback to old school British indie development. And we wanted to bring like a fresh take on that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like a good way for us to learn as well, to follow in footsteps, of those who have done it well already, rather than to try and break whole new ground, rather do something that kind of makes sense and you've seen it work. While we have done some things which haven't been done before, a lot of the sort of principles that we've adhered to have come from looking at those older games.
Cool. So, that's quite interesting. So, the aesthetics exactly. Was there anything that led you to design it, or why?
We were kind of looking at a couple of things that we wanted to sort of mimic, and sort of with indie games, one of the first things that struck you as a success recently was this game called Monument Valley, which is kind of like a mobile puzzle game, but with really beautiful, minimal architectural style graphics. And at the same time, sort of, we were looking at things like Where's Wally, and there's this cool version of Where's Wally called E-Boy, which is kind of like a hyper colorful version of Where's Wally. And we kind of wanted to meld the two of those, and really what that sort of baseline style was feeding to was kind of recreating some of the perspective that you had in these older games. So if you remember like Syndicate Wars, it was this kind of old shooter and sort of in a very similar perspective to ours, but it had a full 360 camera. And also games like sort of GTA, they were kind of really pulled back camera. So we wanted to work with a combination of all those sort of things. So an old school camera where you kind of pulled back, using some of these design sensibilities from, new indie games and some sort of comics. And yeah, the sort of style emerged from kind of working with all that as a basis, and the fact that we had to work really quickly and effectively, so we had to use really simple forms and shapes and brutal shapes, if you like. Kind of the game needed to be more graphic than it was realistic, because we were never going to be able to make a realistic looking thing. So we came up with a whole bunch of kind of just styles, and that's how it kind of emerged over time. Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. So for those who haven't, why haven't you looked at the trailers, you bad listeners?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit isometric, I think you call it.
Yeah, it's an isometric perspective. Even though it's not really isometric, but it's isometric enough to be called that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you? I think this is always an interesting one. How did you marry the design with the mechanics? How did you ensure that the design you created and the vision you had went well with the mechanics, and were there any challenges in that regard?
Well, yeah. Oh, sorry, Sean. Go ahead.
No, I mean there were loads of challenges. One of the main challenges was the fact that we really wanted to have sort of a platforming aspect where you could, traverse buildings of varying heights. And when you're in an isometric perspective like that, you, with a shooter, you struggle to give the player the feedback that they need to know when, a shot that they're going to make would potentially hit the floor at their feet instead of where they think they're aiming. So basically its verticality was, I think, maybe our strongest, and is still one of the toughest things about the game, when it comes to marrying the gameplay and the design. But we've done pretty much our best, and there was a lot of play testing with the UI and trying to get it to feel right in terms of the feedback. And yeah, I mean that was one of the challenges for one, and we had to implement quite a lot of changes to get that to feel right.
Yeah, it's kind of been a feedback process, because that's kind of, as Sean says, that's the new thing that we've done. We've taken this perspective and given it full vertical freedom, of movement and combat. And as we kind of went along, we kind of saw the problems with our design, which is, like I say, quite a new thing, but kind of worked around it. So there was quite a lot of feedback between, how we handle perspective and then what sort of gameplay that would allow. And there was a lot of discovery in that process, sort of what sort of stuff we enjoyed, and as we got better at playing it, we started speeding up certain things. So the camera needed to be faster and more precise, and the combat accelerated as we got better with this sort of concept, and we discovered a really fast-paced game. It takes a little while to get used to when you're playing, but you'll notice there'll be some guys who come out in a little while who are super skilled, and this becomes quite a fluid mechanical thing. And I think that comes out from the fact that this whole design process was a sort of a feedbacky sort of thing, where we didn't actually know exactly what we were what the final product was going to be. A lot of it came out through the process.
Yeah, very interesting. And so to move on from that, I've talked a lot about open world maps, right? How do they feel natural, and how sometimes they, they're just big maps, they're designed first, but not with the gameplay in mind. So how did you ensure that Tokyo 42 has a very obviously a vibrant map, and also it feels alive with people going around? So how did you? Yeah.
No, well, just kind of to start answering that, I think one of the things we wanted to do was make sure that we didn't do much in the way of copy paste in terms of how the world was designed. We kind of had ideas for gameplay and gameplay spaces, and the open world is areas that are designed for specific kinds of gameplay, and we didn't want to copy and paste them any more than it was needed. So you'll notice as you run around, every sort of area feels slightly different, and at the same time it doesn't stretch out further than it needs to. So it's not like it's this sort of Assassin's Creed of endless streets of the same sort of thing. So in that respect, I think it's quite a sort of tight open world, and what it means is that once you start playing around in it, you start learning what buildings can be used for what purpose. So you might find a building that you really like for sniping from, or one that you like drawing your enemies to because you prefer combat there, and so it becomes a tool for you. And I think that's the liveliest aspect of the world, because the AI is so responsive. It's this kind of mini version of AI that you see in a lot of AAAs, actually. It's very kind of smart, and it does its own thinking. It's not prescriptive at all. So that's how the world kind of, for me, becomes this thing. It's your best weapon and your worst enemy at the same time. So
And that's a great answer. I was going to ask you about. You mentioned it a few times. You didn't copy and paste buildings, so you just stole the question. So this applies to both of you. Obviously, well, how did you two realize your strengths, and how did you utilize them? And when spreading the workload, when it came to,
we were quite lucky in that respect. Maciek has done all of the art and design and graphics for the game, and I've done all the code, and systems and stuff. And that was always going to be the case because those are just our strengths, that when we went into it, the work was like broken up like that naturally already. So, it's very hard to say. Like, I think it was pretty much 50-50 really. When you look at the workload, there's so much to do on both fronts, and they're both in depth, and they're both, they sit kind of in respect to each other and have relationships with one another. But there's roughly, we can just go on and do our own thing, and just chat to each other about what we're doing.
Yeah, and I think where we came together was around design and writing. So we kind of just co-designed and co-wrote, which was just more of just like a chatting process. And then, as Sean says, when it came down to actual production, it was a fairly clean split. It's probably worth mentioning now that we do have a musician who worked with us on this project called Vicente Espy, and he's going under the name Beat Vince. And actually, you must try to get a hold of the OST, because it's fucking awesome. And it's
I've had the song "Go Go Go" in my head for probably 4 days now.
Yeah, it's just really amazing, and like awesome. Really worth kind of picking up, because it's just on another level, for kind of like what what it feels like for what this game is. It's really epic music. So
how were you introduced to Beat Vince?
I actually went to school with him. He's got so many names, man. I call him Tootie. Some people call him Vincent. His actual pronunciation is Vicente. And some people call him Vincenzo, and Beat Vince, and Vince, Tut. It's
that's not good for SEO.
Or is it? You could just have all of that. All of those things point to him. I think one of his
step ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I don't know. We call him Vince. Vince is an old friend of mine from school. We went to school together, and he's been just such an incredible sort of musical talent in my life, like ever since I've met him. And he's a prolific composer and a violinist. And he's gotten a degree in music at Manchester, and he's a master's in music, I think, and then he's got a master's in sound engineering at Berkeley in Boston. And he's decorated. He's just a genius, and so it was so good to be able to get him on the project.
Yeah, I think he nailed the soundtrack for the game.
Yeah,
it just goes so. I mean, I did mention the soundtrack was also one of the things that made me interested, but the fact that it's like a puzzle, it just fits so perfectly.
Yeah, we're gonna like be trying to get that soundtrack out, because I think it should be recognized for what it is.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and so. Well, the words so just about the business side of dealing with Beat Vince. Was there anything interesting there? How about the commercial relationships you build as part of game development?
I think this is an indie undertaking, and I think we've all been pretty transparent about our roles on the project, and what sort of value everyone brought. And I think it's all been kind of like a fairly even split in terms of who gets what and when. And Vincent is going through a music management company called Songololo, which is run by Elise Espy, and they've kind of got full rights to the music sort of independently. So they're kind of treating it as a musical release, less so than a companion piece to a game. Even though there's obviously strong ties between the two, so they can kind of run with it how they see fit in many respects. So I think it's a kind of I think that has helped them as well, and it helped this small relationship work, because it could be quite easy. It could have been quite easy for our publisher to take control of all of that, and then everyone just kind of has to go through them. But this way, everyone kind of has sort of their own, can do what they want with what they've made, essentially.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So.
Yeah. So, how much were you two involved on the commercial aspect? Obviously, you control the game, but so you mentioned your relationship with Mode 7 Games was good. Were you very involved in marketing and setting the agenda, the direction for the way it should be publicized and such?
So, as Maciek mentioned, Paul Gildorf-Taylor from Mode 7 Games he's really good when it comes to PR stuff, and just in general, Mode 7 Games have got quite a lot of experience in the industry, so they were much better suited to pick a positioning for our game in terms of the market. So I feel like we probably while all discussions were always held as equals, we often deferred to them on stuff on where we would go, when we should announce certain things, how we should go about that, what the trailer would be like. Paul also did all the trailers, and it's been so nice to be able to rely on them for that, and they've done most of all that as well, I would say. What do you think, Maciek?
Yeah, no, exactly as you say. It's taken a lot of that pressure off, because that when it comes to marketing, a lot of it's spent on email. And on Skype calls and whatnot, and we really wanted to make the game, and the development time ultimately was scheduled out to be about 1.5 years of full-time work, and really, if we were thinking about marketing, we would never have been able to complete the game in that time. So I think, as Sean says, not only were we happy to defer to them, it was also kind of necessary in terms of being realistic about this thing actually ever seeing the light of day, because as we know, it's marketing, etc., is a whole other focus, and it's a whole other job, and it's very all-consuming once you go down that rabbit hole of the internet and likes and dislikes and this sort of thing. So
the scary internet.
Yeah,
yes,
terrifying place.
Yeah,
yet we spend most of our lives on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Adding to the fear.
Yeah, definitely. So, it's a really interesting conversation so far. So, I was also interested in, again, this is more of a development and commercial aspect, when combined. So, when you thought of features and mechanics, did you ever think, or were you driven by the fact that it may or may not be a commercial game, or did you create what you wanted for yourself? So by that I mean, if a certain feature you thought wouldn't make us money, or would make us money, or would affect
yes and no. I think for the most part we were making the game just sort of naturally that we wanted to play.
We wanted it to be fun, and that kind of makes it make money. If it, it goes towards making it make money if it's fun. We always wanted it to be fun. So.
Yeah, I think one of the places where we did have to stop and think was just in terms of scope, when we felt like we were overstretching and that the game would no longer be possible to create within budget, etc. That's when we had to kind of reel it back. But yeah, as Sean says, as long as we were having fun, then we were kind of okay with the feature set. And eventually, you hit a point in development where you just kind of have to stop adding features, because you're going to push. If you want to flesh all that stuff out, you're adding now months and years to development. So yeah, I think a combination of those two. I don't think we added much stuff just for popularity's sake.
Yeah, because sometimes you have publishers pushing for something, or you think, oh, this would be good to add. So the fact that you were driven by fun level, that's good.
Yeah.
A lot of people lose sight of things, and business starts consuming the creative side, and that's always dangerous. Yeah.
And again, that goes back to why I think Mode 7 was always a good choice for us, because we got the sense that we weren't going to become, under the pressure of some corporate overlord who's pushing our feature set towards, in-app purchases and that sort of horror. They wanted the game to be fun too, and we could tell. So.
Cool. So just moving on. So were there any big challenges in general when developing the game?
No, it was all smooth sailing.
What? I brought you guys on for the drama.
I think the biggest challenge was, when we made the demo, it was a multiplayer arena thing. So we wanted to do like a real-time Worms, but we wanted to try to figure out how to make stealth work in an arena game. So we introduced like crowd dynamics. So that was kind of our scope, and I think we did well with that demo because it was tightly put together, and it was a well-finished demo, and people thought it was like a finished little game. But when we went into the deal with Mode 7, we very quickly kind of came to this conclusion that we wouldn't be able to guarantee like a multiplayer game or community, or guarantee that would work, because people are fickle, and multiplayer really requires is really banks on the fact that it's a busy thing. We couldn't do that, so we had to do something in single player. And everyone told us that what rookies do when they make their first game is they either make an open world game, or they try to make an open world game, or they make an MMO, and they always fail. So we just didn't listen to them, and we went ahead and made an open world game. And turns out open world games are really hard to do, and they do actually take a lot of work.
And everyone was right.
Everyone was right. So there's just all these challenges that cropped up, and they were the sort of things that when we started on the open world, everything was fine and happy, and but as you kind of get later on, and you can't really go back on a lot of your decisions because you kind of committed, some of the sort of, as the project bubbled out to its edges, when it comes to performance and scope and stuff, we were hitting these barriers where it's just suddenly we had to refactor a whole bunch of stuff, and it became quite heavy going for a while once we realized the mistakes we'd made. So yeah, I think for me it was the open world was just a huge undertaking, and we learned a lot, but I think it was the hardest aspect.
No, I can imagine, because normally you would have a game in chunks, right? Level after level after level.
Yeah.
Whereas,
normally, apparently that's the normal thing to do. We didn't.
Well, I'm glad you guys went for open world. I don't think a level game would have fit that well, because you now have the options to, snipe from a certain position, and tackle the same problem from different different ways. So I think it did come out pretty well at the end.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I was just gonna to expand on what Maciek was saying there. I think that really manifested itself. That problem manifested itself in the optimization step at the end. One of the things about being PC gamers, as you know, is you have a lot of pride for your machine, so you make sure it can run things well. And we both have machines that can run things well. So during making the game, everything runs fine. And it turns out that it doesn't always run fine on everyone's machine. So we had built out this whole world, and everything was hunky-dory, and smashing out the FPS. And then we put it onto console, and we're like, oh, I see. Okay then. And then it's like, okay, what can we do? And I mean, we spent so long, and we had to redo things. Maciek remodeled the world once or twice, I think. I mean,
Wow.
we've like we've seriously had some pains with the optimization, and I think that's pretty normal. I've read some experienced people saying that you should consider optimization towards the end, but there's a caveat to that. I believe that you've got to have it in your mind as you go along, because we didn't at all. We kind of just went with it, and it was all fine. And then, when it all was not fine again, we hadn't put in any sort of things in place, mentally throughout the systems to just easily sort of scale it down, So we ended up having to reevaluate a lot of the decisions we had made, as Maciek had said, just to get the performance up to where it is now. So
Cool. Yeah. Well, lesson learned. Consoles are awful.
The consoles are great. They're a fantastic platform for the lounge and whatever.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
It's just I love my PC and I love my frames. And I like my detailed gameplay because I like meaty games. Like Sean says, it was a bit of a surprise to really take into consideration what it takes to run on a console. But yeah, I mean, I like lying back in the lounge sometimes as well, and we've been playing some Uncharted, and they can squeeze some pretty good games out.
Naughty Dog apparently makes fairly okay games, and they happen to all be console exclusive or PS exclusive. So
yeah,
by fairly okay, you mean very okay games.
They are so fantastic, man. Maciek and I, like, kind of leading up to release, we had, I don't know, like a weekend prior where we had nothing to do, and we just like played all the Uncharted games. We still haven't played 4, but we started at 1, and we like worked our way up, and there's just been so much fun.
I don't want to buy a PS4, but I've played the other ones, and I really like them. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Although the shooting is really, really weird, and
it takes a while to get used to, I think.
I enjoy the shooting.
Shooting is just...
We just put it on hard mode so that it just became like super hardcore. And actually, we just finished 3, and at the end there, it gets so hardcore, the shooting.
Yeah,
I really enjoy the mechanics. You might not, but like I really enjoy the shooting.
I like it, but it's just sometimes shooting a guy in the head 5 times is a bit unrealistic.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I like the Killzone games.
I
remember playing on PS2, and then the third one was quite cool.
Yeah,
but it had like 19 minutes of cutscenes in a 6-hour game. It was quite something.
Yeah,
sure.
It's a shame some games just aren't released on every platform, because it's just your audience is automatically smaller. And,
of course.
I still haven't. I've never played Red Dead Redemption, and I feel like I need to play that game so badly, and I know that it's so hard to get that to happen now. Like, what am I going to do? Buy an Xbox 360? Like,
and it runs like. It runs quite badly. It takes ages to load and everything. But that's actually one of the games that's worth having a console for.
Yeah, exactly, right.
I played a few hours of it, but I wish it was on PC.
Yeah.
Didn't they announce that the code was too messy to port?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I doubt they would have said the code was too messy, though. I mean, that feels like...
I think they said something borderline...
really?
Like that, yeah, which is why I was surprised. So, I mean, and now the second Red Dead comes out, and they haven't announced it for PC either, so...
I would be very surprised if they haven't got it, pre-considered for PC, at least at a year or two later release or something.
I hope so, but then again... when you're playing a new game, you're not playing a new game. So well, fingers crossed. GTA 5 was a pretty good port.
Yeah,
that worked out pretty well for Rockstar as well.
Having it back or two.
Yeah. When you release a game on another platform, people will buy it again.
Weird how that works.
Weird, PS3 and Xbox 360, then Xbox One and PS4.
Secrets of the industry exposed. More platforms equals more money.
Well, we've got Tokyo 42 coming out on PlayStation in a couple of months. We're not sure exactly when.
Mid-July is kind of
Yeah.
what we've got it earmarked for.
So is there any reason for it, or was it just the workload was too much?
Yeah, it was a workload thing.
Okay. That's interesting. So, do you have any advice for newbie devs now that you're, professionals now?
As I hope we've kind of outlined, we've been learning as we've been going on. So I think the thing that worked best for us early on was making sure that our demo was super polished before we showed people. So as we said, the first event we went to, people were like, "Okay, cool, this looks good. Where can we buy it?" And we were like, we kind of surprised. We were like, "What do you mean? This is just a demo. This is just it's one level and whatever." But it kind of had that level of polish, and what it meant was that potential partners, be they publishers or distributors or whatever, they didn't need to imagine anything. You didn't have to go up and say, well, look at this and imagine what it might be like if it was, this and this, and if we had graphics and if we had this and that. It was all in front of people. So, the funny thing was, with our first meeting with Mode 7, it was the end of the day and everyone had been having these long chats and with all sorts of people. It was 15-minute sit downs. Like Sean said, it was a speed dating thing and everyone was exhausted, So it was our last meeting actually of the day. And really, when it comes to things like that, you don't want to be set at the end because that people are going to be tired and they just want to go home. And so, we had a 15-minute time limit. So we sat down and we just didn't expect anything. So we were just talking about their games. And it was in the last 3 minutes, they said, "So why are you here?" And we kind of just turned the laptop around and we said, "Oh, we've got a game." And they were like, "Oh, that looks cool. How much do you want?" So we barely needed to talk about the game. We didn't have to we didn't have to lie about what we thought it was going to be, and we also knew what we had the capacity to do. What was feasible for us, and that was shown on the screen. So I think that would be my tip, because everyone's going to make mistakes when they're making games, and you're always learning. So I can't personally give any tips on how to finish games, because that is very important, but you got to learn that yourself. But just as a starting point, just making sure, if you're serious about getting something into the industry, making sure that it's super polished and it does the selling for you, or the talking, rather than you do the talking.
Talk is cheap. Make a vertical slice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
that's good. Good. So
I would say, just as a little bit of advice, is consider performance optimization early on, and learn to take criticism. That's it. That's what I got.
That's actually valuable advice. Because everyone tells you that, but no one actually listens to feedback. So it's always good. So future plans for the game. Is there anything you can tell us about? DLC updates and such.
Yeah, we're just we've just been released, so we're kind of just defragging for a week or two. But we've already started talking about DLC. What we'd like to do, we want to put out DLC fairly quickly. And we've got some really cool ideas.
Yeah.
So we really look forward to letting people know about what those are. We're gonna let the players play for a little while and figure out exactly where the strong points are in the game and what people want to see more of. But as it stands, we've got a couple of things already lined up, which we want to do, and hopefully we'll provide some pretty cool new experiences for people. And one thing I want to do is also give something to the hardcores out there who there's some really difficult levels later on in the game, and we kind of want to give a bit more of that hardcore stuff.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, the game's got some super cool combat bits, man. But it's kind of got this whole duality thing where it can be quite a fun, light, experiential sort of thing, and then it's got this hardcore combat, and it can be quite polarizing for our player base, is what I've seen. But yeah, our plans, as Maciek is alluding to there, will hopefully just kind of pour on the hardcore gaming vibe a little bit. At least for one of the things, just one of the plans we have.
Yeah.
We've got some great thematic sort of shifts that we want to implement as well, and some functional updates, and maybe a little bit of polish to some of the existing things. There's been the community so far has been really fantastic in letting us know, how what they think and what they want out of the game, and some of it's been extremely valuable. Some of it's been very angry as well. Some people don't like some of the things, and fairly so. There's some bits that are annoying to a lot of the players, but
yeah, I can imagine. But so why Tokyo? I just realized why. Was there any reason for?
Well, it kind of had to be for us. I think we're both massive fans of Japan and anime and films like Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner and Akira and all things Japanese. And I think for me it's just one of the coolest places in the world. So just wanted to set it there, and be able to kind of pay tribute to just the coolest place in the world, So
cool, yeah. I also like Japan. I've done some of the language so far, and
oh really? Cool.
Yeah, at university I did some. So I hope to actually go there for once.
Yeah,
we wanted to put a disclaimer in the game somewhere, because all around the world you'll see quite a few little bits of signage that are in kanji, and we've used Google Translate to sort of to get those in there. So there's a bit of a yeah, like
we do actually have that in the game. We've got it translated by professionals when it comes to the text and stuff, but
yeah,
the signage and stuff is really bad. Really bad.
I'm glad I'm not that good with kanji then.
Well, it's funny because it is actually in there. If you go to one of the shops or one of the mission terminals, I can't remember. There's a little poster on the side, and it's basically an apology to Japanese people, but in Japanese that has been Google translated. So yeah.
Yeah. So do you two have any plans after Tokyo 42? Any ideas so far? Or?
Hopefully there'll be a time after Tokyo 42. Hopefully one day there will be space to no longer work on Tokyo 42.
Yeah, there's loads of ideas as to games and stuff. It's there's at the moment it's we're looking at kind of more serious financial considerations and stuff, because this is a small operation. So we're we're not going to be leaping into AAA anytime soon. So it's all about just trying to keep moving forward and try to figure out ways to make games.
Yeah. I think the easiest way for that to happen would be for everyone who listens to this podcast to buy the game, and then tell everyone that they know to buy the game, and then also tell them to tell everyone that they know to buy the game. And then we'll be definitely in a much better position to continue making games.
Wait, I thought you guys were millionaires.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I was going to ask you guys for free copies for my friends.
Yep. But you can have a copy, because obviously.
Woo! Thanks, man.
No problem.
Yeah, it's been really interesting talking about the game. And I just was interested in hearing your views about current games and everything. So, simply, what have you been playing lately? You mentioned Uncharted, but how have you been keeping up with the gaming world whilst being in the development bubble?
We play everything.
Yeah, we like between us we've got most things covered, and I think we're quite good in that regard, because we're able to sort of trust each other's opinions about games. So we don't necessarily have to buy the same games, unless there's a good reason for it. We can share our experiences and then cover more ground that way. And that's quite important in today's market, where so many games get released all the time. But yeah, we do pretty well there, I think.
Yeah. I've been, it's a funny week because we just released the game, so I didn't have too much time to play. But I've been, I always play a bit of Armor just to relax. And I do some level editing in Armor as well, which I've been doing over the last couple of days.
Whoa, play Armor to relax.
Yeah. I mean, I've been playing it for years and years now, so it's just I just like it. I enjoy the depth of the combat and just kind of running around in King of the Hill or Wasteland or whatever, and just take it easy. I'm kind of over. So one of the things with Armor is the kind of you can get pretty salty with controls, and especially with the big co-op or versus mode where you have to work together with other people, and people can get really salty with other people's mistakes. So if you're getting flown, if someone's a chopper pilot and they crash with a chopper full of like 20 people, a lot of people get super angry. I'm totally over that. Because I've just experienced it so many times now that it's just run of the mill, and yeah, I find it super chilled.
I kind of more agree with you, Salim, about that. I struggle to relax in Armor, but I definitely am more relaxed when I play with Maciek because he's kind of a pro. So I'll just like kind of cower behind him, running in a line, like hiding in the alleyways and stuff, and he'll always be able to revive me and stay on the point.
So, what's your favorite game, and why is it Deus Ex Human Revolution?
What was the latest Deus Ex called?
Mankind Divided. It's pretty good.
Mankind.
Lots of people saying how it was unfinished and everything, but I didn't really have much issue with it. Probably because I was just drooling all the way while playing it.
I loved both those games. I played Human Revolution through a couple of times, and I never actually finished Mankind Divided because I got caught like obsessively trying to get into all the apartments and trying to emails. So I must have played about 20 hours or so, but I'd only finished one or two of the missions.
Wow!
Because I was just doing all the side stuff, and I just hit this point where I kind of had totally forgotten what the story was or what I was supposed to be doing. And I kind of felt satisfied, like my experience was done. And I think the when I stopped was I'd spent so long trying to, putting dumpsters on top of dumpsters and jumping up and trying to get into whatever apartment that I hit this one point, I think in the red light district, and there was suddenly this new apartment complex, and I was like, oh geez, this is going to take like another 20 hours just to try to figure out how to get into all these apartments. But yeah, I really loved the Deus Ex series. My favorite game of all time is Armor, as has been described.
Cool.
Sean?
Favorite game of all time? I mean, it's probably Mount and Blade Warband. I think it's a game I've given the most time to. I can't play it anymore because I've totally worn it out. And the mods, and there's a new one coming out, so I just want to like build up my need for that game until that comes out, and then hopefully not be bitterly disappointed. But I've been really getting into the old school point and click action adventures. I played through like all the remasters that have been coming out, the Full Throttle and Day of the Tentacle.
I haven't touched those in 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah, I just had this feel earlier on in the year that I needed to go there, and then there was another one that was made, Ron Gilbert and co, called Thimbleweed Park, which is sort of old school but written this year, and that was super fun as well. So I've been doing that. We played a bit of Steel Division, Normandy 44, which was fun. A little bit of golf with your friends. I've been relaxing.
To strategy stuff.
Yeah, some of it. Like I'm into Civ a lot. But
we should have a Civ game then.
Yeah, you're into Civ.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool. I mean, I haven't played much multiplayer Civ. I mean, I've been playing a lot of Civ 6 more, but I've got like probably over 1,000 hours in Civ 5 for sure.
Oh god, we shouldn't play together. I probably.
Sean's got some pretty advanced strats now in Civ 6.
It's just brutal, man. It's just whatever. It's just I'm like a domination
180 hours in. But yeah, the thing with multiplayer is you have to all stick together for hours, and
right.
But some of my most favorite gaming memories have been from Civ 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Multiplayer?
Multiplayer, yeah, because you have not just the stuff going on in the game, you know, the relationships, but those relationships you have over voice over IP. So you just hear one friend yelling, "No, don't take my iron!" And I was like, well, wait, what's happening there? And you look at the map, and his city is almost taken, and the guy's about to be kicked off the game. So yeah, it's fascinating. We could probably play. I mean, if you guys are up for it, yeah,
that's fun. I mean, you know, I don't see us having much time in the next 3 months for games still, but
you know,
yeah, but I would be down. Salim, hit me up on Steam. Find it. Did I just say that publicly?
I'll edit it out.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. So, is there anything, guys, you want to talk about? We've hit an hour, and there was a good discussion so far.
You see, I don't know, man. I mean, what could we say, really? I mean, first of all, thanks, dude. First of all, thanks so much for having us.
No, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure. So, thank you for spending an hour with me. And yes, this is one of the better episodes. I can feel it.
Cool. Hey, look, is this kind of like a regular gig for you, Games Vibes, like podcast? Is this what you do?
Yeah, I've been busy over the last year, lots of traveling and such. So I haven't been as up to date, but I'm trying to get it back to a weekly, at least a fortnightly basis. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, also launched a website, so I'm going to try and write more. You know, when traveling, I can't talk, but I can at least write. So
yeah. Well, Maciek and I, we've been looking to set up sort of like a North London, more like Muswell Hill, specifically because we know of 2 other devs of like, you know, fairly good like games and stuff in our area. So I don't know. You mentioned you're in North London. I can't remember exactly where, but you know, we should let you know. You can come hang out sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys, Sean, Maciek, and for coming on. And it's been great to speak to you. And I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Salim.
Say goodbye.